welcome to. Thank you.
Thank you. When I first saw the cover of this book, I wasn't quite sure of it. I wasn't sure if it really represented what I was going to find in the book. But I can assure you that you can judge a book by the cover, but you won't understand the book. You won't understand the cover until you've read the book, because what we've got here is a towering dolerite column, a sea shelf that's obviously washed by the ocean, a grey sea and a brooding sky, and you won't be able to see it from there, but there's a small figure here hailing the universe. And so Shannon's taken on an ambitious task, and the cover actually is a beautiful photograph and really appropriate for the contents of the book. An American by the name of Robert Green Ingersoll said, "Life is a narrow veil between the cold, barren peaks of two eternities. We strive to look beyond the heights." This is me talking now. Within that narrow veil, we share this life. We share this moment, even this evening here on Earth in Tasmania. We have the opportunity to consider the question that Shannon asks in the preface. What is the spirit of Tasmania? Does it really matter? This is a call to think about it, to give us a sense of place, to put us in context, to give us an understanding of who we are as Tasmanians, and to help other people who are even interested in. And I think this book is a very valuable book for people who come to this state to understand what it is that the spirit of Tasmania, where it came from, why it is. Anyway, this book is an ambitious undertaking. I call it a broad brush story that tells of geological and climatic forces, anthropology, natural history, social history, adventure, exploration, convict transportation, commerce, industry, and all that preceded us. A concise history of all that has gone before us here in Tasmania. What strikes me about this work, the words and the photographs, is the way I'm carried by their suggestion into that place of shared wonder, a place where we can meet and know that others also see the beauty of the landscape here, the beauty of life itself. We stand almost mute witness. Shannon has had the courage and been articulate enough to say something meaningful in the silence. The powerfully evocative wilderness photographs, misty mountains where eagles fly, lonely valleys where the lost ones cry. When I first came to Tasmania in the early 70s, it was said that wedge-tailed eagles were occasionally seen in the sky over the post office in Elizabeth Street. I used to write that home in my letters. You can still see them and see eagles over our place in Denali just about every day. Shannon describes the dramatic physical backdrop of wild oceans, rugged mountains, verdant river valleys, a myriad of sparkling lakes, coastal headlands, towering cliffs, and pristine beaches, which he says creates the setting for life in Tasmania. It is certainly one of the things that's kept me here. Last Monday, my wife Tammy's birthday, and so the only thing she wanted was a family trip to a remote Tasmanian East Coast beach. So with our two daughters, their husbands, and 8 of our grandchildren, we went to that remote beach on the Forest Heath Peninsula. And as we stood on the headland and looked along the beach, my youngest daughter told the children the story of the French expedition that arrived under the leadership of Marion Dufresne, in 1762. She told how, at the sight of this foreign vessel, the like of which they had never seen before, the local indigenous family group sent the women and children to hide in the bush. And we stood on that headland and realised that those women and children probably hid in the bush just around where we were standing. And as we looked on the beach, it was easy to imagine the men folks standing there brave with their spears and what are those sticks they used to dong things with? As this sailing ship, just appeared in the bay, and the French people came ashore, and there was an encounter that started off friendly, and they exchanged some gifts. Vanessa said that the French had some glass and some spices, and the children said, but the Aboriginals didn't know what spices were, Mum, and likely they didn't, but they had pepperberries and stuff of their own. And then it turned unpleasant, and unfortunately there was a volley of musket fire, and at least 2 Aboriginals were killed. Shannon tells that story, along with many others. Where are we? A few years ago, Shannon sent me a piece he had written on Indigenous Tasmanians, including that story. And I said he should write a book. And he rang me up a couple of months ago and he said, I've written that book. He has written it, and it's about our transient existence in a landscape previously populated only by Indigenous people, the spirit of whom still pervades the land. There are beaches near us where the forest comes nearly down to the shoreline and has the dancing shadows of human figures like spirit memories. What Shannon calls a powerfully evocative wilderness with a unique ability to nourish the human soul. There are 27 chapters in the book, each one an essay, and what I've spoken about is just the first few chapters. Shannon has been unconstrained, with no need to conform to any protocols or conventions, no need to be answerable except to his own high ethical standards. While he does not speak about himself, he has distilled for us the story of Tasmania. He handles the hot chestnuts with bare hands and is not afraid to diagnose the ailments of modern society and prescribe some strong medicine. He describes the invasion and the attempted genocide and explains the background of Western civilization. The reference pages show he has researched well. He tackles the big issues of environmentalism and the concept of God. I thought at first that Western civilization was a rather grand inclusion in the title, but on reflection I think it belongs, because he has told us about the Enlightenment, the throwing over of superstition and fear, and the growth of equality, justice, and mutual respect. I do have to correct him on one issue, chapter 10, the Holy Grail in Tasmania. And there are other references to the Holy Grail in Tasmania. From Shannon's point of view, it's about equality and justice and freedom and its growth and nurture in the society in which we live here. Noble thoughts, Shannon. But I need to tell you that the Welsh have already claimed the possession of the Holy Grail. It's buried under Arthur's Stone on Cefn Bryn, which is a mountain near where I grew up, where I spent my childhood. Of course, that Holy Grail I'm talking about is the cup used by Jesus at the Last Supper, which was apparently taken by Joseph of Arimathea en route to Cornwall, where he was trading in tin. He apparently brought Christianity to Wales and the British Isles. Anyway, he left the chalice in the care of the Welsh. Why am I not back there in Wales? Well, because this island has enchanted me, and I can't find a better place, and it can serve all year round. This book has given me a much better understanding of Tasmania, a much deeper appreciation for teachers and health professionals and all sorts of aspects of the state. And I'm going to buy quite a few copies of this book myself and give them to people who there's no shortage of people who are going to appreciate this in my circle of friends. I just encourage you to do the same. Congratulations, Shannon, and the photographer's absolutely brilliant. Thanks.